What is going on, you lovely people? I'm your host, Wonderstruck, and today we're going to be doing a very popular and booming subreddit called r/entitled parents. So sit back, relax, and just enjoy the ride. Our first entitled parent story comes from a parent who thought that dogs were just a toy. As ridiculous as an idea of that sounds, apparently it is possible. So let's get right into it. Entitled mother thinks dogs are just toys and gets kicked out of pet shop. Hello, I have this rescue mutt that I adopted after witnessing how a car just abandoned her on the street while still a pupper. Because of the circumstances, I have no way of knowing how her life was before I adopted her, but she seems to be pretty happy living with me. I let her roam free around the house and even sleep on my bed. Usually she's pretty social whenever someone comes to visit. So I was at the vet one day. I had an appointment just for a bi-monthly checkup, see if she's growing healthy, etc. While I was in the waiting room, this kid comes and shoves a small car toy on my dog's ear. This scares her so much that she pees. So naturally, I carried my dog to comfort her. She was still pretty young at this moment. This kid starts whining about how I won't let him play with my dog, and I explained as patiently as I could. The way you used your toy with my dog made her feel uneasy. You have to be respectful and kind to other dogs because they're just like us. Enter entitled mother. The mother started complaining about how I was being selfish and not letting a mutt play with her kid. She said it as if the fact my dog was a mutt somehow lowered her value as a living being. I explained to the mother that her kid shoved the toy car on my dog's ear, to which the entitled mother just replied, "So what? Your dog isn't even well trained. Dogs should be able to withstand anything kids do to them. Young kids just think of dogs as toys." I was going to say something when the vet came out of the office to see what was going on. Apparently the entitled mother came to adopt a rescue dog from the vet, to which the vet replied, "Unless I see a commitment from your part to educate your kid on respecting animals, I'm afraid I can't let you adopt any pet. Most of the pets we have for adoption here come from abusive households, and we won't let them be adopted by someone who sees them as objects for a child to toy with." At this point, the entitled mother was furious. "I promised my son that I would get him a dog if he studied hard. He deserves it." To which the vet replied, "No pet deserves to be threatened like a toy by a kid while the parent fails to educate the kid about respecting animals. My decision is final. He cannot adopt any pet from here." The kid was crying, but neither the vet or the employee, neither myself, cared at all. It was clear that the mother just wanted to give the dog to her kid as if it was a new toy. The mother complained about how we ruined her kid's childhood and left extremely upset. Here's a photo of my happy dog. If you think that a dog is simply just like a toy, then that's a very terrible mindset. Dogs are creatures and they need love and affection just like everything else. If you're gonna let your kid toy and harass a dog, then you don't deserve to be owning a pet, period. Dogs are not toys. They are companions. There is a big, big difference. Entitled mom almost kills her child because she wanted him to ride a ride he wasn't allowed to. Tries to press assault charges on me. So I've been lurking for a bit and decided to share my EP story. This is gonna be a long one. When I was 16, I worked at the amusement park in my city. It wasn't a big one, but it wasn't small either. Most of our rides were aimed towards elementary school age children, though we had a few for the older kids as well. Anyways, I was a rides operator, and that day I was assigned to a ride designed for older kids. We had to measure the kids, and they couldn't go on if they were under the height requirements, no matter what, even if they had a parent with them, because it was a ride that only had a bar that went across your stomach, so someone too small could easily fall off. Entitled mother, who we'll call M, and her entitled brat, Eb, are in line, and I can already tell the kid is gonna be too short to ride without even having to measure him. He's pretty far back, so I know it's gonna be 1 or 2 runs before he makes it on. So after I'm done loading, I tell M that her kid is too short for the ride, and that they should go try the smaller version of it on the other side of the park. She looks at me with the dirtiest stare ever and just says, "We're gonna wait here." Now I have to run my ride because I need to meet certain times, so I don't argue. Time goes by and she's finally at the start of the line. I measure her kid and of course he's like 6 inches shorter than the height requirements. "I'm sorry ma'am, but your child is too short to ride this ride. I would recommend going over to the smaller version near the entrance of the park though." "No, it's fine, I'm with him, I'll hold him." She tries to shove me out of the way, but I'm standing my ground. "I'm really sorry ma'am, but we don't allow people under the height limit to ride this ride. The safeties we have on it just won't hold someone too small, and your kid could fall off." She then asks to speak to my manager. I get asked that quite a lot by entitled parents, so I give them a call and tell her to wait on the side while I load my ride. She gets very offended, saying that she shouldn't have to wait longer for her kid to ride this ride because I couldn't do my job. And at this point, I just kinda ignore her and move on. Ride runs, my team lead gets there and talks with her. He tells her that he's really sorry, but that I'm right, her child can't ride the ride. Now at this point, Eb is throwing a tantrum, and I mean he's rolling on the concrete like a piece of bacon in a frying pan. I'm trying my hardest not to laugh at this point. Anyways, my lead apologizes, offer her a skip the line ticket for the ride he's allowed to go on at the entrance, and leaves. Im is trying to calm down Eb and starts talking to him. He gets up all smiling and happy and stand next to the gates watching me. Now I'm not thinking too much of this at this point, so I start loading my ride again, which has a significantly less busy line, and I have a couple of empty seats on it. As I'm doing my security checks and getting ready to run it, Im taps me on the shoulder and thanks me for my help, which I found extremely odd. I turn around to tell her that it's really no problem, and she starts apologizing and telling me that she shouldn't have acted the way she did and blah blah blah. I'm completely stunned, not really sure how to react, but I tell her it's no problem and to enjoy the rest of her day. I look back at my ride and realize that Eb isn't standing next to the fence anymore. I'm starting to get weird vibes. I look around for him and he's not anywhere to be seen. I look at Im again, who has her phone out and her camera pointing at the ride. And that's when I knew. I take my keys out of the ride and start walking towards it. It's kind of a swing type of thing, so I couldn't see the back from where I was standing, but I knew damn well Eb had snuck on. Im starts panicking, asking me what I'm doing and why I'm not running the ride. I completely ignore and walk to the back of the ride, and lo and behold, Eb is sitting there, and almost shits himself when he sees me walking towards him. He didn't have the bar properly locked at all, and would have flown right out as soon as I started the ride. Now I'm mad, and I mean mad. I could have gone to jail for manslaughter right here and there. I just look at him and very sternly tell him to get off my ride. He tells me he can't and needs help, which is fair. I don't even know how he managed to get on it in the first place, but I grab him and put him down, and he starts sprinting towards his mom crying. As he's running, he trips and falls on his face. When he gets up, his nose is all bloody and his knees are skinned, which is when I knew I was completely and utterly fucked. Im starts screaming like a banshee at the sight. As I'm running towards the kid to make sure he's not dead and help him up, she runs towards me and slaps me hard across the face and starts yelling for security. I'm absolutely completely stunned at this point. Some security guards must have heard her screaming at the top of her lungs because they come running, and the exchange goes something like this.
What's going on here?
This girl assaulted my son. She threw him off the ride onto the pavement.
Excuse me?
Did she really want them to believe I just yeeted her child 10 feet away from where he was sitting? It's true, she punched me too.
You want us to call the police?
Yes, you need to arrest her, she's mentally unstable. I'm dumbfounded at this point. My lead goes to the right and asks what the hell is going on, and I tell him everything that happened in between sobs. There's one thing Im forgot to take into account though. There were like 15 people on the ride who saw everything. So they tell the police and the security guards and my lead and everyone else what happened. And Im quickly realized her error as she started running with her kid in a tow as soon as she saw people asking the other guests questions. They caught her pretty quickly, and I pressed assault charges against her. Needless to say, I handed in my resignation that same day.
Your laptop isn't an Apple, so it isn't worth much. So give it to my kid.
My first post on entitled parents, so don't judge me too hard. Anyways, backstory for some backstory. I've been trying to sell a Toshiba laptop for a while now, approximately 4 years, but it has a 4th gen Core i7 CPU, dedicated AMD Radeon graphics, a full HD 15x6 screen, and a 1TB hard drive. Needless to say, it's pretty high end, so I decided to sell it on Letgo and meet the buyer at McDonald's. And sure, now where it starts, I was supposed to sell it to some guy named Mark, and by his profile picture, he was in his mid-40s. So I go to the meetup at the arranged time and start asking anyone if they're Mark, and when I stumble upon Ed and Eck, Ed says his name's Mark, so I follow up with, are you buying the laptop on Letgo? He says no, so I decide to just wait and see if my buyer arrives. When I get in contact with Mark from Letgo, he says he forgot and is busy. Asshole move, just set a reminder on your phone. When Ed starts anyways, when I'm about to leave, Ed stops me and asks what kind of laptop I'm selling, so I just said the specs and price, approximately $350 CAN. He asks if he can have a look at it. This was kinda weird, but he seemed like an interested buyer at the time, so I pulled it out of my bag and he immediately goes,
It isn't an Apple?
I was weirded out by this, but then he asks why I'm charging so much. I tell him the specs on it and how they go for $450 on eBay and the programs on it like Office 2016, etc. He then says,
I want it for my kid, so I should pay less.
I said I can do $340 and he replies by saying he can do $20. At this point I see this was a bad decision and start packing up. This somehow enraged Ed, saying he wants it for his son. I'm being selfish and he's gonna fail in school if he doesn't have my laptop. So he starts grabbing for it and we struggle for about 5 seconds. FYI, I'm an 18-year-old guy and have a baby face and he's a bald 40-year-old dude. So in this restaurant I yell out,
Why are you reaching for my dick? Why do you have an erection?
He is instantly super flustered, backs off and runs away with X saying, I'm a fat greedy fuck. Note, I probably could have handled the situation differently and I know that, but the best way to get guys embarrassed and
to back off is to say he has an erection and that he's reaching for another man's junk. It instantly shuts down the majority of guys. The cake was just sitting there, so I thought I could take it. This is pretty short, but I wanted to share it. For my 15th birthday party, we went to a bowling alley in a bigger city around us. We invited a few people for it, which were a few of my friends and my mom's friends. When everyone got there, we did some bowling before we had cake and all that. One of my mom's friends she invited, which would be the M, and her kid weren't doing anything. Ick had a Pepsi in his hand, and the mom was drinking a Tim Hortons coffee. I was sitting at the table after I was done with my turn, and I see M whisper something into the ear of Ick. They walk into the party room after their little exchange, which the party room was probably an old employee break room. I think nothing of it and continued bowling. After we're all done, we go into the party room to do everything you'd normally do at a birthday party. But before we could even get to that, the cake, which was pretty expensive, was just missing. I thought my mom left it in the car, so I go out and see if it's there. Right when I walk out the door, I see M and X sitting at one of the tables outside, wasting no time digging into the cake. When I walk out, their faces immediately turn red. The following argument ensues. Why the hell are you and your kid at the table eating our f***ing cake? I wasted no time getting pissed.
Well, the cake was just sitting there, so I thought I could take it. Mom, you said they wouldn't notice.
After the kid said those words and before I could say anything else, M threw the entire cake on the ground and ran to their car and drove off. By this time, everybody was already behind me, just watching it all. My mom didn't say anything. She knew who she was. Since M lived 5 minutes away from the bowling alley, my mom waited until she knew she got home and called her. My mom called her a total of 15 times and she wouldn't pick up. Afterwards, we told the manager about the situation. They agreed to get another cake for us. But even after we got the cake later that day, M had already ruined the party for everyone. So, thanks, M. You're a hoe. Stupid parents wants channel deleted.
So while I was looking at the comment section of a video called Scream 3 2000 Kill Count HD, the last comment on the video was a parent complaining. I don't really know if this is entitled parent, but this was the only subreddit that I could think of to post this in. Good morning. You don't have to know who I am, but what I'm telling you is serious matter. You see, recently my 7-year-old son complains about having nightmares after being exposed to disturbing content on the internet. I asked him to show me what he saw, and he directed me to your channel. I am appalled at the violent content I saw. This is just disturbing. I am shocked that something so violent could be allowed on the internet, especially when listed public and accessible by children as young as my son. Do you know there are children as young as 5 years of age on YouTube this instant? What if they saw your stuff and gets traumatized? The world's crime rate is as high as it is. Do you want to set up a bad example for the future generation? People like Bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, and Kim Jong-il exist due to violent influence on the media. Do you want to contribute to the statistics? Because of this, on behalf of all good parents on the internet, I'm ordering you to delete all your videos. Fast. Right now, this is not a request, this is a demand. This is an order. My son used the internet every week, especially during the weekends. Because of this, I expect to see your channel empty of videos latest by this Friday, before my son uses the internet. Please take this serious. I'm warning you. Have all your videos taken down this instance, or else strict actions will be taken. Okay, so I know I wasn't really gonna commentate on this entire video because it's more story reading, but oh my shit, I cannot contain it. Maybe stop blaming people who want to post their stuff on the internet, and maybe blame yourself for being a bad parent at filtering what you want your kid to see. If you don't want your kid to be on the internet, then maybe watch over what he's looking at the internet. It's not the world's job to watch over and make sure it's safe for your kid. That's your own damn fault.
Oh, howdy-o! Didn't see you and totally didn't set up a camera sitting right there for this outro. Just want to say thank you so much for stopping by and watching me make a dinner and tell stories. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see y'all soon. Take care, and bye.